Dami ko nakitang ganyan. I usually check the top 100 shareholders. Ang dami, estate of blah, 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 this much shares. I see that.
Ako, masarap bumili sa mga ganon. Kasi sometimes, because sometimes they sell those shares para lang maliquidate. Not really to earn profit from it, no? Kaya minsan mas mababa yung bentahan, lalo kung private corporations yan. So usually that's the time that third parties can actually enter private corporations and have as shareholdings in that corporation.
Everyone, we're in for a very, very special treat today. A lot of you have been asking about anong gagawin ko sa stocks ko pag may namatay sa akin, anong gagawin ko sa mga property ko kung something happens to me. We have a very, very important and special guest today who will discuss all of that. We have Atty Regie Tongol. Sabi niya, wag ko daw siya masyadong i-build up. Pero guys, you have to listen to what he has to say kasi super insightful and super helpful to all of us na nag-i-invest, nag-iipon, and also want to prepare and have a better life for our families. So, Atty Regie, how are you in this lockdown?
I'm good, Marvin. And to all your viewers, hello sa inyong lahat. Keep supporting Marvin and what he's doing. Subscribe, like, and share down below. Tama ba yan?
Galing. Thank you.
Ako na nagsabi.
I want to start it this way. Hindi masyado na pag-uusapan yung estate tax sa Philippines. That people focus on, okay, kita ko, magnegosyo ako, mag-invest ako, pero suddenly things happen that are above and beyond their control. So, for people who do not know first what estate tax is, what's the simplest way for them to know the exact definition and bakit dapat nila pahalagahan ito?
First and foremost, you always have to believe na the adage na there are two things in this world that you cannot escape. Death and taxes. It will always come your way. Pero na-discover ko by watching other Netflix, I think, na pati pala sleep. Even if you don't, whatever you do, you will never be able to escape those three things. So estate tax is like that. Estate tax is a tax on the assets of the one who died. So in order for it to be transferred to the heirs, you have to pay the estate tax because taxes are the lifeblood of the nation, of the government. So that's why it's assumed by the government na pag ikaw, you acquired a lot of assets, and then you died with all those assets, then you are also, or your estate are also capable of paying the appropriate taxes to the government. So it's actually giving the share of the government from all your asset accumulation. Minsan nagugulo ng mga ordinary persons, Marvin, yung real estate tax. Iba yun. Kasi naririnig nila, estate. Pareho lang ba yan sa real estate tax? Ang real estate tax, iba po. Ito yung amilyar na binabayaran sa mga properties, real properties, mga land and buildings, binabayaran mo yan every year, hindi sa national government, kundi sa local government. So it is totally different from estate tax. Estate tax is going to be paid at the time after the death of the person who owns those assets.
Tapos, tama, di ba? Yung understanding of estate tax, you add all of your assets, cash, property, all of the investments there. Tapos kung ano yung total, may sum yun, tapos may multiplier na yun yung kailangan mo bayaran na tax. My question there is, pagdating sa stocks, pagbayad mo dun, for example, nagpasok ka ng pera, 1 million. Tapos by the time na namatay, 2 million na siya. Tapos by the time na pinag-usapan nyo yung tax, 1.8 million na lang siya. Ano yung magiging basis nung value ng stocks or at least ng portfolio ng taong namatay?
Depends, no? If the stock corporation is listed in the stock market, then you will base the valuation of the stock at the time of the death. So, kunwari, namatay ka ng November 11, kung ano yung value ng PLDT shares that you own on November 11, Yun yung pagbabasehan ng estate tax, which will be computed 6%. Pero ngayon, kung hindi naman siya listed in the stock market, private corporation siya, ang pagbabasehan ng valuation ng estate tax will be the book value of the shares at the time of your death. So anong importanteng malaman dito? Magkaibang dokumento ang kailangan mong hanapin, no? Pag nakita mo yung tatay mo, nanay mo, or whoever na namatay tapos may shares of stock, kailangan mo munang alamin kung listed siya or hindi listed. Kung hindi siya listed, then kailangan mong humingi ng mga documentation mula doon sa korporasyon. Yung certificate of shares of stock, kung hindi pa na-issue dahil hindi pa bayad yung full subscription, then you have to ask proof from the corporation na siya ay shareholder, siguro subscription agreement, pwede yun. Kung may shares of stock na, certificate rather, then that's the thing that you ask. Hanapin mo yon sa vault ng tatay mo or nanay mo or whoever. Ngayon, kuhanin mo na ngayon yung financial statements mula doon sa korporasyon, kukumpitin yung book value, which is the value of the assets minus the liabilities divided by the total stockholders' equity. So, makakatulong kung medyo hindi nyo po alam yung ganon, makakatulong ang mga accountants at lawyers para for you to be able to valuate the shares of stock at the time of the death. So yun yung mga basis of the valuation depending on whether it's listed or not listed corporation.
I have a question on that kasi I get a lot of questions na nakita nila may shares pala of Petron, which is a listed company or PLDT ng magulang nila. Pero yung magulang nila namatay 10 years ago, 15 years ago na.
Yeah.
May habol pa ba sila doon? Or what if na-settle na yung estate tax 5 years ago tapos doon lang nila nakita after? Makukuha pa ba nila yun or wala na yung mga shares na yun?
Yes, hindi mawawala yun. Once it's already entered in the stock and transfer book of the corporation, in your example, in Petron's stock and transfer book, forever na nandun yung pangalan mo. Diba? Hanggat hindi nalilipat sa ibang tao. So now, when the heirs find out about that certificate of shares of stock or yung stock transaction receipt, then ang gagawin lang ng heirs para malipat sa kanila yon ay to settle the estate of their parents, bayaran yung taxes doon, and para sila na yung ngayon yung mag-own ng shares na yon, tapos sila na rin yung makakatanggap ng dividends. So even if it is found out 10 years after the death, okay lang yon. Then just settle it. Pero ang problem lang nga yan, meron kang surcharges and penalties. Except if you apply sa tax amnesty law, which is until May 31, 2021 next year. So if the death is from 2017 and earlier, para hindi kayo impusan ng surcharges and penalties, around 25% din kasi ng value yun. Ng tax due. Kung tax due mo, 10,000, so 25% of that yung surcharges and penalties. So times the number of years that you failed to settle the taxes. So that's going to be very significant amount. So yun yung gagawin mo, mag-file ka ng application for tax amnesty. Now, if the estate has already been settled, tapos nahanap mo bigla yung stock certificate, okay pa rin yun. Because ang gusto lang ng government is to collect on the taxes. So, even if it's late, hindi mo naman kasalanan yun. It's out of your knowledge. It's ignorance of fact, hindi ignorance of law. So, that will be excused by the government. But of course, the surcharges and penalties will still be imposed except if you apply for the tax amnesty to settle that estate. Kung
10 to 15 years naman yun, syempre may dividends yun. Are you still entitled to the dividends na hindi mo nakuha? Iniipon ba yun ng company? What happens to that naman?
Yes, because the corporation has to separate it. The dividends, yung dineclare na dividends na yun, hindi na yun sa corporation. Once you declare it, it's the stock stockholders na kung sino makakatanggap ng dividends na yun, ang owner na nung cash na yun or the stock dividend. So, ibig sabihin, hindi na pwedeng ihalo ng corporation yun dun sa kanilang total assets. So, ibig sabihin, even 10 years, 15 years, nag-accumulate lang yung dividend. So, pag nalipat na dun sa heirs, yung shares of stock, papakita nila yung certificate authorizing registration na i-issue ng BIR dun sa corporation. Tapos yung corporation will transfer the shares under your name now. Now, all the accumulated dividends will now have to be transferred to you, or kung meron ka mga kapatid, kung paano nyo dinivide yung shares na yon at yung dividends na yon based on your deed of extrajudicial settlement of estate. So yun yung kasunduan ng mga heirs kung paano i-divide yung mga natitirang estate ng kanilang parents.
Guys, sobrang nag-enjoy ako pag sobrang talino yung kausap eh. Guys, comment below if you're learning from Atty Regie Tongol. I have
may questions pa sila, di ba?
Lagay nyo lang sa comment section. Follow up on that. Once na na-discover nila, for example, alam naman nila na meron shares yung parents sila, tapos something happens, they pass away. You said that you have to pay the estate tax so it gets transferred. What is the initial steps that they would need to do also for it to be transferred up until malipat na rin sa kanila and then paying for everything?
Well, the first step is to actually collate all the assets, not only the shares of stock. Kasi we're just assuming na yun lang yung asset nung namatay. No? Shares. Pero meron pa yung mga land, meron pa yung mga paintings, meron pa yung mga other properties. So collate everything and then evaluate everything. Once you already know the value, the heirs, kayong magkakapatid or kung kayong mga apo, now we'll have to discuss amongst yourselves, paano natin nahatiin to? Diba? Etong property na to, kanino mapupunta to? Tayo ba lahat na ang nakapangalan dyan sa property na yun? Because it's going to be complicated if more people co-owns one asset. For example, you have a 32 square meter condominium. Diba? Tapos, 10 kayong heirs. 10 kayong maghahati dun sa 32 square meter condominium. So, 10 rin kayo magde-decide on how to dispose of that condominium, paano yung rentals, i-divide nyo rin ba by 10? Yung 30,000 rental na nagre-rent doon, divided by 10, so 30,000 kayo. So you can all agree on those things. Or will there just be only one person na mag-o-own ng property na yon? Diba? So pwede yun yung pagkakasunduan ninyo doon sa deed of extrajudicial settlement of estate. So yun yung initial na mga kailangan pag-usapan. It's really an adult talk. It's not an easy talk among you guys, especially kung may mga magkakagalit ng mga heirs, yun yung mga nagkakaroon ng complications, yun yung mga napupunta sa litigation. But if pwede yung pag-usapan peacefully, you win some, you lose some in that kind of distribution because may mapupuntang property sa'yo na baka less yung value, di ba? Than the other person. So, medyo tricky yung ganong situation. How do you divide it equally? So, yun yung second na gagawin mo. And then, of course, once you collated all the properties, yung mga documentation, kailangan meron ka rin, yung mga certificates of title, yung mga tax declarations, and then you actually talk to a lawyer to help you on how to settle the estate. Paano i-fill upan yung estate tax return, paano mag-a-apply sa BIR ng tax amnesty. So, accountants can also do that. So, yun yung mga kailangan mong professionals na kausapin. You know, if you do it alone, pwede rin naman. There are a lot of people who wing it by their own and then who just watch mga YouTube videos like itong katulad kay Marvin, tapos parang, di ba, aaralin lang nila. Pwede rin naman. It's not hindi naman requirement na kailangan na abogado. Pero, just for convenience sake, at saka yung malaman mo talaga lahat ng mga rights mo, better to ask professionals about it. So, yun yung mga initial steps na kailangan gawin ng tao preceding the actual filing of the estate tax return and the payment of the estate taxes.
Got it. Two follow-up questions on that. You said the estate tax is based on the assets. What if, for example, mag-invento na lang ng numbers, yung namatay, meron siyang 5 million cash and stocks, etc. Then meron siyang, for example, condo na it's worth 7 million. Pero yung condo na yun, napasok pa lang niya na cash 2 million. Tapos may utang pa siya sa bangko. What if yung utang exceeds the assets of the person that died? How does it go?
Well, first and foremost, kapag you loan from a bank, meron yang insurance, life insurance. So once the borrower dies, the property is automatically paid by the insurance. Diba? So kasi ang beneficiary nun yung bank. So bayad na yon. So it's going to be an asset already of the decedent. Hindi na mamaminus yung utang na yon. But sabihin natin na hindi sa bangko inutang yon, Marvin. So, kung sabihin natin sa personal na utang, parang kung sa'yo ko binili yung condo, diba? So, paano mo masisingil yung heirs ko? Then you can file a claim against the estate. It is a special proceeding that a creditor can file in a court where the property is located. So, doon isisettle ng court kung paano, saan kukuhanin sa assets ng decedent yung pambayad sa'yo doon sa kini-claim mo. So, yun yung mabilis lang yan, mga summary hearings lang naman yan, kaya nga special proceedings. So, kung walang other complications, then the estate will be able to pay for the property. Now, as you said earlier, paano kung kulang? Kung kulang, wala na, zero, bye-bye.
Okay.
Because the heirs will not be personally liable to the debts of the decedent. Yung estate lang yon. So pag namatay tayong lahat, Marvin, tapos may asset tayo, automatic, the law will create a fictional entity, which is the estate. Para siyang, sabihin mo natin corporation, kasi corporation din created by law to have a legal entity kahit na physically hindi mo siya nahawakan, hindi mo siya nakakausap, etc. So ganun din yung estate. The law will create a fiction or a separate entity from the heirs themselves.
Dami ko nakitang ganyan. I usually check the top 100 shareholders and dami estate of blah 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 this much shares. I see that.
Ako. Masarap bumili sa mga ganon kasi sometimes yeah, because sometimes they sell those shares para lang maliquidate, not really to earn profit from it. So basta lang magkaroon ng pera, no? Kaya minsan mas mababa yung bentahan, lalo pa kung private corporations yan. So usually that's the time that third parties can actually enter private corporations and have shareholdings in that corporation. In other words, if you leave something behind, your heirs will be inconvenienced whether you like it or not. You think you're doing them a favor by accumulating all those assets, but if you do not plan, so they will look at it as an inconvenience. Lalo pa if the heirs do not have enough liquidity to pay for the estate taxes, or they are not so educated enough on how to go about these things.